Okay, so here we are back. We are in a position to put the top coat on this. If you recall from the previous video, severe water damage, we used Weber OCR combined with this mesh to fill this deeper area here, and we needed that to at least set. Okay, it's not dried out at all, but that's one of the benefits of using these bag renders, is that you do get a much faster sort of set time. Yeah, it's full of SBR, so this is going to make this, the SBR mixed in with these render products, the Weber, is going to make this go rock hard, and that's exactly what we want. So we are in a position to get the scratch coat on next. Silkerbond SBR Plus. Let's put that in the bucket first, and as you can see, a generous amount. One coat render by Weber. Open up with the desired amount of water, fresh. Okay, for the scratch coat we've knocked it up quite chubby, but one thing to mention with this stuff is it does kind of like stiffen up quite quickly all by itself inside the bucket, but with a little bit of movement you can just give it a whisk again and it will liven back up. Some adequate scratches in there so that the next coat can get a good grab. And sometimes people think you got to hold the scratcher open like this. You don't, you hold it flat. If you want, you can give it a little wiggle, like so. So we had a little bit of remedial work to do where there was a crack. We hollowed it, chiseled it out quite a bit, and with a high solution of SBR watery, because the parapet is what's caused this crack. But now the parapet has been repaired, so there's no more water coming through here. So now we need to kind of treat this so no water can get in this way, which I don't think it can too much anyway. But yeah, we're literally just sorting out that crack. We've painted it, treated it with SBR, raked the crack out, and then mixed high concentration of SBR and sponged this in. Now remember, we don't have to be pretty here. This is just for function, you know. Nobody's looking at this. You can't even see this. So it's just about prolonging the life of this building, because apparently it's going to be completely replaced in a couple of years anyway. So this is why we're just doing pretty much the bare minimum patch up, because it doesn't have to last that long. But we're going to, you know, do what we can and put the SBR in there as the extra prevention of any water getting in there. So this scratch coat has picked up quite a bit and it's quite firm, uncomfortable. We've got a good grab on there and we're going to get a top coat over this today. Okay, so we'll let this pull in for a little bit. It is pulling in a little bit more in some places than others, but what we're going to do now is take a sponge float to it. As you can see, the wall is quite contoured. It has bent around over time, so there's no point in putting a rule over this. We're going to have to roll with the punches and go with the flow. We've got a brush here, a bit of fresh water. You can't go wrong with a little bit of SBR in it, because we're going to be brushing this in and trying to feather it out to the edge. So that is why we are doping this water up. Sponge float. So let me just show you this bit for demonstration purposes. Got a bit of liquid on the area that we're going to float up. Make sure your sponge float is wet. And just like a regular float, just going to roll it round in circles, just buffing the surface up there, look, just livening that up. And like I say, on this one, we're going to roll with the contours that are there. So we're going to get it up to this sort of texture primarily in the first pass. Okay, so we got across that whole patch. If you're just wondering, look, so I haven't shown this bit around here, look, it's just feathers out, pins out across the top of these units here. So again, it's really quite wet. Just leave it for a little while before we come back to it. Okay, so here we are back up there. We've given it some time and this texture has picked up quite a bit. Now there's a couple of ways you can tackle this. This time I've got a dry sponge float, exactly the same as one. And again, just going over it a second time, you see we're bringing the grain up and taking all this excess texture out of the situation. And I think, to be honest with you, for up here, that is good enough. Now you can use other sponges. Down here we've got like a regular car sponge. Depends how particular you want to be with it. You see you get a slightly different texture with the car sponge. Not quite as coarse. You could always come over this again, look. See the textures, so all this is doing is breaking off these rough cast bits, let's see. And just buffing it up. There we go. So we're going from this to this, and then with the car sponge. If you want it to look really nice, bring it up one extra time. Let's have a little quick look here, see how rough that is. Just a bit of grain. Car sponge just takes the grain off. It just makes it a little bit smoother. There we go. watching that video. Just a quick one today, and even that was padded out with some clouds and stuff. Not that I'm running out of content or anything, but yeah, we did a video previous how we got up to that, and instead of putting it all into one big video, I'll split it up into two. So the previous one is the one that went up last night, and that was called severe water damage. So if you want to see what happened to get it up to that point in the first place, then do have a look at that one. In the meantime, have a look at this one. If you're looking to patch up a finish patch, sand and cement, or try and repair render, because render can be quite a difficult one because it needs a certain amount of depth for it to have its strength, and trying to feather out with sand and cement really doesn't happen. But this is where the magic of SBR comes into play, because that does allow you to do it. Now, with sand and cement's plastering sand, maybe the granules of sand might be quite coarse and you will still struggle to get a nice sort of feathered out effect. But with the bag renders, you do tend to be able to get it a little bit better, or at least much more successfully. You'll never really get a seamless join there, but it does enjoy much more being feathered out, especially when you dope it right up with SBR, and that's what you're going to need to do, because you're starting to get dangerously thin, so you need to give it some pep, something else. And SBR is a glue which will allow you to do that, and you can use it to prime up the surfaces, and you can use it to mix in with it so it becomes part of it. It's a resin, okay, which is waterproof. It's really quite good stuff. So as you can see there, that did not have to be pretty at all. It's just a service area, and it's more functional. We just need to stop that water getting back in there for the time being until they decide what they're going to do with the rest of that building. So it was just literally functional, with no real concern about how it looked. But I mean, one thing that you might want to take into consideration if you are looking to patch things up like that, when you try to make things as flat as possible, so you saw with the car sponge at the end how it was really kind of really buffing it up to really quite smooth. The smoother and smoother you go with an exterior thin finish like that, the more chance you have of finding a discrepancy, and being outside, it can be subject quite often to cast shadows from the sunlight, and wobbles and stuff like that, and it will show up things. So ironically, the more sort of textured the surface is, the more chance you have of that surface looking flat, which is one of the reasons I think the monocouches, which I'm not that keen on, the monocouche finishes, which is rubbed up with like a spiky float, and you use the I bars or H bars, whatever you want to call them, it does get them quite flat, I've got to admit. But then the texture of that surface there breaks up any shadows, any discrepancies. Monocouche, I don't see that done so much these days, and coincidentally, I've just been given some photos of some monocouche that a guy is not happy with, and he's not happy with it because of the way that it's weathered, and it's some garden walls, and the algae and dirt, microbiome creations have got into the actual depth of the monocouche and actually caused a really nasty stain there. And there's a couple of ways you can go with that. You need a soft wash with chemicals and stuff to kind of re-bleach. You need to kill all that algae, and you need to kind of like bleach it to give it back its colour, should it be a light colour. And if you have a really bright colour with a monocouche, then and they come out with paints and stuff like that for it. But monocouche, I don't think lives up to its name, or does very well in the English environment. It's more of a Spanish. It's for more drier areas, and there are issues with it, and that are coming up. The same as the silicone finishes, which also finish with quite a textured finish. The silicone finishes, you can get them in 1 mil, and that's the size of the granules in them, and you can get them in 1.5 mil, so it makes it a little bit coarser. The silicone finishes have tended to become a little bit more popular than the monocouche finishes, because the monocouche finish is purely decorative, and it's a sponge. It's designed, it's like crushed lime. It's supposed to get wet and dry out and breathe, and it's It's the layer below that decorative monocouche finish which gives you the waterproof capabilities, or at least resisting water, whereas the silicone finishes are actually waterproof from the outside, and water does come off of them a little bit better than the monocouches, and you do tend to get less staining, but there is a tendency for, again, algae, dirt, stuff get caught in the extra porous granules. So it is up to you what you want to go for. Let's wrap this video up now. Let's call it a day. I do have this monocouche one to come up and decide what we're going to do with it. Maybe we'll go into a little bit more depth about these exterior finishes on that video. So we'll wait until then. And until then, I have a new job to start tomorrow, which is just old-fashioned multi-finish over, I won't say old-fashioned, it's old-fashioned now, multi-finish over plasterboard in a garden room. So that's where I'm going to go tomorrow, and that's what the next video is going to be about. So thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video, which shouldn't be too far away. If you do want any advice, or if you want to give some advice, or you want to engage with me and other plasterers in a little bit of a better way other than just the comments section on YouTube, then you can come over to the Facebook group, which is called Plaster Master Smurf 74. Completely free. You can post pictures of your own jobs if you've got questions, etc, etc, etc. There's me and a load of other plasterers there just falling over themselves to help you out should you need it. Alright guys, again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Take it easy.